By the power of Castle Hate Skull, I am Hella Mark Harley, and I was just checking on my phone to see if the Oak and Stone clothing sale is still going on. It's a Black Friday sale with 40% off everything. I'm doing this up front just so you don't miss it, just so it's in your brain, and it actually really is pretty cool because, look, they're high-quality clothes. They're not the cheapest clothes of all time, but if that's been an issue for you before, a deterrent in checking out some of their stuff and buying an item, now's a great time because you get the 40% off. You also get the 10% off. Check it out at least, see if there's anything you like. And, one of the better deals around, I'd say, as far as Black Friday sales go. And I'm just hoping it'll still be going on. I believe it's going to be going on. I know when I'm filming this, it's going on for sure. And you know what? If it isn't, and you want to buy something, hit me up and I'll tell the owner, yo, extend this for this mother effer right here, and I'm actually sure he'll give you an exception to that because he's a good dude, and having a small business allows you to be flexible like that, right? And potentially, I think I will make it happen, though, but I'd been thinking about going to the Olympia this year. I've been into bodybuilding, I guess. Like, I never thought about it as something that I was a fan of, but, since the 90s, when I started lifting weights and the guys you look up to on the fitness magazines thinking that they're all natty, and if I just take Celtec, that I'm going to end up like all of them. If only I take the right creatine brand, I'm going to look like Nasser El Sombaidi. Deep cut there. If you know, you know. Egyptian bodybuilder. Dude was a giant. And also, one of these guys who's really smart. I believe he had a science background. I'm going to have to look that up. Nasser El Sombaidi, PhD. Am I giving him too much credit? So he's Egyptian background, born in Germany's. Yes, in multiple Germanys. Let's see. Wish I could find this. He was really smart, I know, but I guess I'm not finding on his Wikipedia page at least what his academic credentials were. He just comes to mind as somebody who, degree in history, political science, and sociology. Boy, was I ever off. He did go to college at least, but I guess he was known for kind of having he was one of the guys who was into the science aspect of using anabolics and stuff like that, because that's not going to be everybody, but a curious and intelligent person nonetheless. Yes, we're doing a deep cut on Nasser El Sombaidi. Is that how you pronounce his name? I have no clue. Somebody can help me out if you're of Egyptian heritage. What I was going to say is, it never occurred to me to go to any bodybuilding shows, right? I'm not sitting there going this is so awesome, I need to go see that live. Like, the pictures were cool enough, but it never even just occurred to me. And more recently, now that I'm in one toe in the fitness world, I thought, I should start going to some of these events just for the sake of networking, just for the sake of being around your tribe in a sense, because I do feel like, even though that's not my entire life, when you're around people who are into fitness and bodybuilding, first of all, I tend to enjoy those interactions, and at least you have a common language that you can share and interact with. But then secondly, when someone looks at you and you have muscles, or this could be anything, so I'll make it general. Like, if somebody looks at you and there's something about you that makes them assume something that you think is incorrect, and in this case it would be any of the negative assumptions that people can make towards somebody who spends time lifting weights, who uses anabolics, who posts shirtless pictures of themselves on the internet, and people take that various ways and assume things about a need for attention, or what they think about what I think about myself when I'm doing that, or the reasons for doing it in general. So when I encounter stuff online, like where people come to my page or I see it pop up randomly, it's like, oh, like you can't fathom this pursuit. And so you're giving me the least charitable interpretation of my reasons for pursuing fitness, bodybuilding, building muscle, using my body on social media, whatever it is. I try to not take it personally, even though there can be obviously highly personal insults directed at me. But when you're around other people who get that, it's not an issue, right? There's zero chance of people projecting that onto you. Now, it may turn out that you're a complete asshole or a narcissist, and also a bodybuilder. But, of course, that's the case with most scenarios, right? But it's not going to be something where you're misunderstood. And I've realized how important that is to me with regards to friendships, intimate relationships, and what I feel like I strive for or that I feel like is missing or that can disappoint me, right? Nobody can really, it's hard to hurt my feelings by insulting me as a stranger. But the easiest way to hurt or disappoint or give me sadness as an other individual might be to demonstrate that you're misunderstanding me on a basic level, right? I've realized that if I'm to look back at things in my life where I feel like, oh, that hurts me because I assumed I had a greater understanding, I took that for granted, and then either in that moment or you realize the whole time I've been misunderstood, that hurts. And so I'm finally going to the Mr. Olympia to be accepted. No, and I also just want to meet people. Like, I think it's going to be an interesting spectacle because it's not just about the show. It's about the weekend and everything around there. And so I'd be going, Brendan has to reschedule shows in D.C. and he'd be going, to do rain stuff. And that's also cool to, like, the people that they bring out. Every time I've come with him for the Tough Mudder or whatever, like, the team that they bring out is really cool. And I always have fun collaborating with them. So who knows? Maybe, there's some rumblings of haters will say blog from the Mr. Olympia. I don't know. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if we can do it. Casey's like, please take me, dude. I'll fucking film the whole thing, bro. This is my fucking dream, dude. Like, just give me a shot, dude. I've always wanted to make blogs in Vegas, dude. Like, I grew up just fucking like it's just great. Like, it's just like the way things. It's just like, that's God right there, dude. That's God right, dude. Like, the fact that, like, you're going to the Olympia and, like, I have a camera and this burning desire to film and edit vlogs for you. I actually assume you'd be really good at that because of all your the skate stuff you did. Like, because you filmed that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And edited yourself. So, like, that'd be easy work. So next step is, it's not even a job. It's just having fun. So come with me. Yeah. So Casey, just do it, dude.
That was also part of my role when I worked on the Dan Patrick Show. Anytime we would go on the road, I would shoot and edit on the road stuff. Yeah.
So I should at least talk to you about it. I asked Chin the other day. I was like, "Do you have any tips for vlogging?" He's like, like, he like laughed out like that was the stupidest question. I'm like, it may seem obvious to you, like, that you'd shoot and then edit the best parts, but I'm like, what are some insights into that, right? Because I don't ever assume that, like, it says something is as easy as it seems. But yeah, my honest assumption is that Casey has no desire whatsoever to be in Vegas other than to party. And is that correct or not? Would you ever go to a bodybuilding show?
Yeah, I've been to, when I also worked for CrossFit, I would go to the, I don't think it was it the Mr. Olympia? What's another thing? Oh, the Arnold Classic. Yeah, I went to the Arnold Classic a couple times.
That's essentially just cool. As big almost, because it's like this whole, like, event weekend and people, it's a really prestigious show in general.
I've been to Vegas maybe 5 times and have never partied. It was always for work, and I would go there, like, end up shooting all day, and then, like, get back to the hotel, like, organize footage. I literally would only see, like, the venue I was working at and my hotel room. So I've never, like, although I've been to Vegas a bunch of times, I've never been, like, to the Strip, never to a casino, never to anything. Yeah.
I don't think I've had a good experience in Vegas. Like, doing that. Like, I've had many times where it's like, oh, we're going to go do this, but then you kind of realize, like, oh, that's my friend with a bunch of money who's, like, buying tables and drinking, but it's like, that's not, you can be with that person, but it's not you per se. So it says, like, if you have money and can make that obvious to people or have enough money to buy hookers.
They have hookers in Vegas? All right, I'm in. Let's go. We're going to Vegas.
Oh, my goodness.
No, come on.
I remember actually last time I went to, like, do that part. I'm going to talk about this guy in a bit, too. But he ends, like, ends up banging this hooker, and she was like, that was so good. Like, I don't even, according to him, it was like, I don't even want you to pay me. And like, turns into like her wanting to like date him. And he was like super into her the first night. And then he was just like, oh, I got to get rid of this bitch, you know? I'm doing an accent that will reveal who this person is if you know me. But I caught myself and toned it down. I'm like, I can't do an Australian accent for this guy. But, you know, yeah, if you got money like that to throw around, you know, I'm sure it's a lot of fun. But just like, this is going to be fun inherently. Like, flashing lights, loud music, everything's expensive. I don't know, but you can make it work. You know what? I saw Blue Man Group there once, and that was fucking awesome, I have to say. Because it sounds so cheesy. But it's like, actually, there's a reason that these shows go on forever and, you know, make millions and millions of dollars. It's because they're fucking good. All right, let's do... let's click on this Hella Psychedelic. This is the funny little clip, but I love seeing stuff like this, like, because really what it represents to me is it's Mike Tyson in the game tripping on shrooms on the Hot Boxing podcast. That title's a little bit of a misnomer because he bites into the shrooms in the clip and they kind of just talk about it for a second. And my assumption is that Mike Tyson's always on mushrooms, but what I like about this is a hardcore gangster rapper, you know, gang affiliated, whatever, South Central LA guy who's talking about doing mushrooms. And that's one small aspect of the normalization of psychedelics that I like being a part of. I like, you know, talking to whoever will listen about my experiences and why, not that I need to push it on anybody, but like, if you haven't tried it before because you have misinformation-based fears, then I like to correct it. So let's check out what the game.
Follow me to the car. Beautiful. Yo, I take it on myself. When I tell you the water follow me all the way to the truck from the beach.
So stupid, baby.
Water follow me all the way to the truck from the beach.
You see this, man?
So they eat a little shroom chocolate here.
Peer pressure by Mike Tyson. Here we are, grilling and everything.
That's funny.
Don't be afraid now.
I ain't afraid, Mike. Hey, don't, hey, Mike.
Afraid.
Hey, don't watch my piece, all right?
A few moments later.
Speak English, mother sucker.
Man in love.
I'm that emoji, and I got the blue shirt on.
Oh, I'm high as fucking giraffe pussy.
So that looks like they're having fun. I don't know if that's a direct result of the mushrooms or not, but like, I don't know. It's just a cool thing because also like you see that, and if you are somebody who's never taken it before, you're like, see, they're just having fun. It's all lighthearted. It's not like dark or stressful, unless you want it to be that. Then I can make that happen for you. I can come to your house and bully you while you're taking psychedelics for $100. I will give you acid and then cause you stress for the ultimate bad trip experience. It's like you remember girlfriend experience, like that term that's like in, you know when you're like ordering a hooker and like, no, it refers to that where it's like, I assume it means like spending the night and like kissing you, like giving you something extra to like act like your girlfriend rather than just to hold, put your penis in. It's called the girlfriend experience. So I'm going to start marketing myself as, you know, you want the bad trip experience? I can sell you psychedelics, but if you want that bad trip experience, it's going to be a little extra. So here's something I thought was interesting. Because as you probably know, well, you know, okay, I'll preface it with this. I don't mean to act holier than thou, but when I'm on the road, I drink more. When I'm on the road with Brendan, like everybody's drinking. It's not that I feel peer pressure, but it's just kind of a when in Rome type of thing. And, you know, I think many instances of I don't drink alone. I don't like come home and go like, I really need a drink right now for the feeling of it. It's kind of like other people doing it reminds you of it. It's almost like, you know, eating food that's out or whatever. But my desire, like with all things, is to be more mindful in the future. And yes, that represents a procrastination in all things, but I think it's good to remind yourself of the specifics. I remember getting into an argument with somebody who was like, they're talking about the benefits of alcohol. And this is actually a guy who was like trying out for the Olympic team for wrestling. He was a talented collegiate wrestler that I happened to be friends with. And he made some reference about like beer does this and that, and it's positive and all. And it's on Facebook, and I put some quip back like, talking about poison, right? And we got in this kind of heated back and forth. We're kind of talking past. It wasn't too heated, but it was like, at the end of the day, I think it's always useful to remind yourself that this is a toxin that you're ingesting. And I think people will rationalize their alcohol use, even just like, not like rationalizing alcoholism is a different thing. Rationalizing like, I have 2 glasses of wine every night because it's healthy is a different rationalization, right? That's sort of more of this like white collar rationalization, this like intellectual rationalization. Let's be honest, the Democrat rationalization. So I'm in the midst of listening to this podcast by Andrew Huberman. Now it's 2 hours long. I haven't finished all of it. And in fact, some of these things you listen to, you almost have to turn off. You're like, I can't listen to that right now. I can't be told that I've been destroying my brain with casual alcohol consumption my entire life. Like when I listened to this, podcast on sleep from this guy on JRE, and it's like everything. He's like, all-nighters are terrible for you. Like everything, you're like, oh my God, like, I'm going to get dementia next year. It's sometimes you have to take it in small doses, but essentially a couple of talking points here would be that 12 to 24 drinks a week, which is pretty obvious binge drinking, frequent binge drinking, that damages the neurocortex, the outer layer of your brain, things like associative memories, planning, podcasting, time management. No, I'm all the things that I'm bad. I'm like, wait a second, am I secretly an alcoholic? It'd be a great excuse, but I'm not. So obviously, I think that's pretty accepted that that's bad for you, but like hearing some of the specifics that they get into, as far as what elements of cognitive function, probably creativity too. Creativity, future planning, all these different things that you kind of associate with like that layer of our brain that makes humans human, right? Impulse control, right? Because without the neurocortex, we're not too much different than animals, and not to separate it too much. Obviously, dolphins are freaking geniuses, but
Dolphins do drink a lot, though.
Dolphins like to get fucked up.
Oh,
they like to do the
total lush,
dude.
They're fun.
Yeah,
but
and when they puke, it's just like in the ocean, so it just like goes everywhere.
It's not
cool. Like, boom. You ever seen a dolphin puke? I wonder if animals do. They must, right? They're a mammal.
Cats puke, dogs puke.
Cats puke, dolphins puke. Right?
Should we look
Haters
it up?
will say dolphins don't puke. That's the episode title right now. Yes, I do want to look it up, actually.
Do dolphins puke? Question mark. Sometimes an animal vomits to remove toxic bacterial chemicals. Vomiting clears the digestive, healthy stuff. What is it? This trait is also seen in whales, dolphins, and porpoises.
So I guess here's my takeaway from that. Like, cats don't vomit most of the time because they overeat. They can obviously do that, but like, they're doing the thing where they eat the grass and it gets out their digestive system, whatever. It's some other purpose. So, it's funny to think about the dolphin like binging on fish and getting intoxicated and then throwing up.
Look at this.
What?
In fact, when it comes to sperm whale vomit is a precious material and has been used to make several top-end perfumes, cologne, and cosmetics for many years.
That's hilarious because I remember that's one of those things you hear about, and you're like, that can't possibly be true. Like somebody tried to tell me recently that calamari was made from pig anus. It was actually Jay Shop, who was passing it on from somebody else. And I was like, there's zero chance that's true without even looking it up. Like, you can't just serve pig asshole to people and tell them it's calamari. That's not how America works, at least. And we'd be able to, easily look up multiple instances of that happening. There's somewhere on the menu, if you have imitation crab meat, it says imitation crab meat. It isn't like, no, this is real crab meat. Like, and that's something that's supposed to taste, exactly like a seafood. And it comes from you can't just be like, oh, you wanted squid? How about pig asshole? It doesn't work like that. But in the same vein, I thought that stuff like this is like one of those, I always heard this growing up, the whale vomit and perfumes. I was like, yeah, you're full of shit. Turns out I was full of shit.
Whalefacts.org. I don't know how credible. I mean, I don't know, but
when I see that .org at the end of the address, I just believe it. You know, you buy in.
Yeah.
That is fucking hilarious. But
Anyway,
so
what the hell are we talking about? Drinking.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
you were talking
And
about the podcast.
I love
and
thinking about
drinking.
dolphins and like do you know they do get fucked up, right?
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do. Look it
On
up.
what? Fucking plankton?
So what they do is they'll take toxic fish, like a puffer fish. I'm using that as an example, but it's I'm not sure what the exact thing is.
They'll
But like
snort a puffer fish?
they use the toxins from other sea creatures to get high, essentially.
What?
Yeah, and it makes sense because like monkeys, dolphins, it's like they have the self-awareness of like, oh, that felt good, and like it gives me this psychoactive experience. And I assume many animals are capable of that. Like even watching a cat, go nuts on some catnip, it's like it's doing something to them.
I always
they
thought,
want more of it.
Why doesn't that trippy frog just lick itself, man?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
That's a great question. Dolphins, toxic fish. Hi. Puffer fishes, yes. Puffer fishes are known to contain tetrodotoxin in small amounts can kill a human within minutes. However, for the dolphins, this toxin, according to experts, is known to create a narcotic effect when consumed in smaller amounts. So I guess it's possible that dolphins could OD, right?
Yeah.
A little too much pufferfish, or they get some fentanyl mixed in the pufferfish. Like it looked like a pufferfish, but it's really just a fentanyl pressed pufferfish.
Well, I'm glad that this podcast, if nothing else, is raising awareness about the toxic fish epidemic.
Dolphins are washing up to shore on the coast of San Diego, and scientists are wondering why.
Local
My
golf.
investigative journalism team. No, it's crazy. So yeah, I guess the effect, I guess, is like I'm assuming they're meaning narcotic in the sense that I'm thinking like an opiate, right?
Local dolphin asking if it can bum a smoke.
Local dolphin. It all started when a local dolphin took a pufferfish. He's just he was a good guy. He's a good dolphin. Your dolphin neighbors like after you OD. Or it turns out you're a dolphin serial killer. Kept to himself a lot. I'd see him get a pufferfish every now and then, but nothing too crazy. Okay, so the second part of this, but you know what? Dolphins do have, they have well-developed brains. They have more social capacity. I can't. I'm going to go on a whole dolphin tangent. Have you seen what they can do? Like, I guess it's from echolocation, but you can put stuff inside boxes and they can tell what it is.
What?
Like you can show them a shape. Like here's a, look, get the star, and then show them a bunch of like closed boxes, and they'll be able to that's the stars in there, right?
What?
So they can do stuff that we definitely can't.
Damn, dolphins are super chill.
And at least killer whales have more highly developed like social regions of their brain. Like they're more primed to have like complex, social structures, ostensibly. Even 7 to 14 drinks a week shows evidence of neurocortex degradation. So that was the part that I was like, oh damn, like, I probably had 7 drinks, over the course of 2 days in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Because what else are you gonna fucking do in Milwaukee? Drink Wisconsinably is the state motto. Not making that up. And that sweatshirt was $80 at the airport. Too much. Remember, you're still Wisconsin. Nobody's going to buy that. But that kind of casual drinking, I think most people assume like, oh, I'm just having like a beer or 2 a night, a glass of wine or 2 a night. That can't possibly have any effect on me because I've read all these things about how my cardiovascular health is improved by drinking a glass of wine every night. And that may be true, or maybe it's correlated to something. I'd love to look into that because I hear stuff like that and I'm like, that can't be the whole case, right? And perhaps it's just from the blood thinning effect alone, like taking a fucking aspirin every day could, relieve blood pressure symptoms and have a cascade of positive effects in the long term, but that doesn't mean it's not doing damage to the other parts of your body. Alcohol ultimately damages the cells in your body, and it's something I have to remind myself of because like I don't give a fuck about drinking. It doesn't even feel that good. I would honestly rather microdose on psychedelics if I'm looking for an effect, right? I'm looking for a feeling. And ironically, as Huberman points out, We drink mostly for a feeling, right? For a mood. Paradoxically, it leaves us less happy, less motivated, less able to plan after the effects wear off, right? So you're doing it for the mood, but it's always short term. And I just don't think, compared to something like exercise, that's always the answer, right? If you're looking for a mood enhancer and you're not exercising, then take LSD. But also exercise and take LSD at the same time. Have I run 6 miles high on acid? Yes, I have. Did the person I did it with also run 6 miles, but that was the first time they've ever run 6 miles, and they almost died? Yes. Was it a great memory? Absolutely. You know, a lot of people have been asking me, Mark, what are you going to take to help you focus on avoiding political conversations during the Thanksgiving holiday? Well, it's funny you should ask. Happy Hippo Kratom is what I'm going to use. You can get that at happyhippo.com and use code ThickBoy with 3 C's for 20% off. And it's going to help keep you on your toes while everybody else is drinking, and we've discovered how bad that is from Andrew Huberman. You can take this stuff. Not going to degrade your neural cortex. Goddamn it.
Quick, drink it. Now say neurocortex.
Neurocortex. See? Hard evidence that Kratom from happyhippo.com works. Whoop. Dude, we've been waiting to talk about this. Artem Lobov sues Conor McGregor.
Yeah. I was reading this morning.
Yes, you saw this separately, right?
Yeah. My beef with Artem is this.
Yeah. Right, because you're a Conor McGregor fan. And so am I.
Diehard.
You're diehard, right?
Yeah. So it says in here that Conor offered Artem $1 million.
Did?
Yeah. And Artem...
What? Oh, like now?
No. Then, at the beginning.
Okay.
And Artem turned it down. He was like, Conor also would offer me money to get him ready in training camps, and he would turn that down just because they're bros, you know? So if you turn down that initial offer up front, you don't get to come back years later after it sells and be like, now I want money. It's like...
Yeah. Now, my understanding was... because he says he feels entitled to 5% of the overall deal. And there's actually some interesting details of this. So I'm gonna read a little bit of it before I get into kind of my personal associations and the broad lessons that I was thinking about when I was looking at this, because it actually brings some stuff to mind that like have been, especially in LA, collaborating with people. I've had some instances like this where it's like I've been on the receiving end of similar treatment, or like I can at least relate to what he feels, right? Whether or not he's justified in that, I guess, it's hard to tell just from these statements, but I'll read this. Okay, so Lobov is suing McGregor for millions, alleging that he was pivotal in developing McGregor's proper number 12 whiskey that McGregor sold a majority stake of for $600 million in 2021. Lobov reportedly claims that for his efforts in creating Proper 12, he has an agreement that entitles him to 5% of the money McGregor made from the sale. So I wonder if that was a verbal agreement, a written agreement, whatever. The attorney says this: my client's a retired professional fighter with a master's degree from DCU, Dublin City University, in finance and capital markets. Lobov's attorney, Dermot McNamara, said, we have issued high court proceedings, yada, yada, yada. McGregor's team says Proper Number 12 Irish whiskey was created, developed, branded, and tirelessly promoted by Conor McGregor. He didn't say exclusively by Conor McGregor, and let's see. But that's kind of what you're left to believe with that statement. Here's where the things get specific. McGregor and Lobov were once fast friends. Lobov claimed to have been the one who came up with the idea for Proper 12 when McGregor was considering getting into vodka with Hafthor Bjornsson, the professional strongman. Lobov claims he told McGregor to do whiskey instead and even did the legwork early on to get things rolling. I was the person who came up with the idea to do a whiskey for Conor, Lobov said. I said to him, before you can look even look any further about vodka, here's what I know about Irish whiskey. I told him about my presentation from college. I told him about the dominance of Irish whiskey and all of that. And he said, you go off and see what deal you can put together. And I went on my way. I went on and met all different whiskey distilleries. I called some and met some in person. I did my research and put a beautiful deal together. Once the deal was ready, I went to Conor and I said, Conor, I have the deal ready for you. This is going to be $1 billion deal. No messing here. I'm not sure if you took me seriously or not at the time, $1 billion. Conor offered me $1 million, but I turned it down. I didn't accept it, throughout my career, as you were saying, Casey. But I never accepted the money from him. That is an interesting wrinkle there. I wonder what the specifics of him actually agreeing to that. Now, also, I think it's pretty customary, like if you put together a deal, right, we pay lawyers and agents a percentage. Who knows? I guess that would be the pivotal thing. The only thing that matters is, like, was this agreed upon? I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, that he feels justified in this, and this isn't just suddenly realizing, like, oh, my fight career is over and I'm not a millionaire, so I got to sue my former best friends. But it reminds me of things that I've just experienced this before with people who, like, specifically on screenwriting collaborations, where I've worked with directors and had positive experiences who were moral and ethical about going forward with something. But, like, what can happen sometimes is, like, for example, not a lot of people know that Pulp Fiction was co-written by somebody. And the behind the scenes of that was, like, Quentin Tarantino, like, bullied him to take his name off of the written by credit. It still says story by credit, but he, like, threatened to, like, remove the guy entirely if you didn't take the story by credit, so that Quentin Tarantino could put written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. That's how directors think a lot of times, very egotistically, that my name has to be on there. I'm not going to get any credit. I've worked with screenwriters before who, like, I've put in hundreds of hours into projects, and you'll get promises of, like, oh, and it's going to be like this on the other side of things, and, it's going to be me and you and so much money, blah, blah, blah. But then, like, the moment that there's any chance of getting recognition for it, it's like, ooh, psych, hey, could I take your name off this? And, like, I'll get you back later or something like that. It's I'm not saying everybody, but I know this kind of thinking because everything seems great up front. And again, I don't know the specifics of their deal, but it's an insight into people's psychology. You want to democratize the work, right? You want to socialize the work and privatize the profit, would be one way to say it. It's all fun and collaboration, and oh my God, it's going to be like, it's easy to talk about fairness and not put that in writing. And then on the other side of something, once you actually have a script and you feel a sense of scarcity because you're not, let's say you're a director and you can come up with ideas, but you're not the best technical screenwriter who can execute feature films in a particular format. Well, then that's a scarce thing for you. You have a script and you're not easily able to replicate that over and over and over. So that's your thing, right? And if you have a vision of written and directed by, or you feel like that if people find out that this wasn't your idea entirely or that somebody else had to execute it for you, it's a threat to your ego, right? You feel like it might blow your cover in some ways, especially if you're insecure about your skills as a writer. So I've had people outright steal my ideas, like actually do, finish the majority of screenplay, then have that person, like, I've had other people tell me, like, oh, this person's passing around that script that, like, you've proven to me you wrote whatever 80 pages of, and then they, were supposed to pay you and didn't, and they just took the writing and, like, put their name on it and finished, whatever the remaining thing, but, like, with no credit or whatever. I think it's fairly common. I think that, like, things like that can be addressed, and I'm thinking of two different examples where I addressed it with one person and they were able to like apologize, and we moved past it. They took ownership for it. In another instance, and this person, was going through a period of substance abuse, and when I started with them, they were sober, and that's one element of, like, you see, oh yes, it's difficult to empathize, it's difficult to see things from another person's perspective while you're intoxicated. Whether it's alcohol, cocaine, anything, you might recognize on some level that the person who's speaking to you about taking responsibility or, you've effed up in this, XYZ way, on some level you recognize it's true, but the response can be anger. The response can be lashing out and gaslighting and going, over the top. No, you, and this is the reason that, you're totally wrong. And then it's like, well, we can't do anything with that, right? So you hate to see it. It's also just not, when I think about Conor McGregor, big ego, millions of dollars, probably doesn't have a lot of people in his life telling him, the harsh truth or reminding him, or who are incentivized to keep it an absolute, 100% real with him, that would have that conversation like, hey, maybe this guy does deserve something.
We also don't know Conor's response to this at all.
Right.
Conor
yeah.
could be like, yeah, no, I'll throw him five. I'll throw him. I'm sure they'll settle before it goes. Like Conor was like, yeah, I was trying to give you $1 million before it got started. You're my boy. I'll throw you some coin.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I'm assuming this will get settled.
I honestly would hope that's the case because, like, as I'm saying that, he has all these traits that you see why it's not too much of a stretch to be like, yes, people historically who have these traits, they tend to, think less about other people in these scenarios when there's credit to be taken, right? It's like, I'm the face, I'm the brand, I'm the thing. So I guess the point of that entire story was like, when it's all done, there's a human tendency to be like, all me. And then somebody else being like, hey, but like 10% over here, or like, they're like, it's easier to be like, crush you because I'm in a position of power and the attention is on me. If I don't have to recognize you, there's a human tendency to not. And I hope that's not the case, but I assume there was more behind the scenes that, like, if it's here, it's like, how do you come back from that?
On the other side of what you're saying, though, it's also not outside the realm of human behavior to want something successful and proven to be insanely valuable to be like, oh, but I did this.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
You're 100% right. And that's the article immediately makes me think about my experiences, and I feel like I've reflected on that enough and talked about it, whether the people were like, no, because people will try to make you feel like you're totally in the wrong, but like I've separated myself from it enough. Because I remember when I, like, some of these instances, it would make me really angry. And it's one of the few times I'm like, fuck, man, I'll smoke weed and like get angry about this thing. Clearly it's bothering me still, but I've since compartmentalized it through reflection. But that's what I relate to emotionally and instinctually. But 100% on the other side of things, it's like, that's the story as old as time too. Like, I was part of that. I wrote that song. I was your muse. People also love to take credit for things that they don't deserve credit for, or change the goalpost after the fact. If there was no agreement in place where you said, I'll give you 5% when you turn down, because that would have been the thing. It's like, if you're turning down $1 million, like, how about a percentage of sales later? Sure, that's perfectly fair. But if you just go, don't pay me, and that's it, that's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you not having the balls to be like, I actually do feel like I deserve something. And then unfortunately, Conor would be in the right to give him nothing if he turned it down and said, well, that's just me being a good friend. Okay. And then if you do that and then go public with it, it's like, I wouldn't feel bad if I was Conor. If that was the case, and I feel like you didn't say shit, and then you're going to sue me and make this huge story out of it to make me look terrible, then, like, I would dig my heels in, How
about this? They fight, and winner gets the company.
Right? God, the ass whippings that Artem Lobov must have taken from Conor McGregor.
Yeah, but also Artem chipped Conor's tooth.
Did he?
Mm-hmm. Conor has a chipped bottom tooth, and he's like, that's from the
That was like how they
Russian
became
hammer.
friends, right? It's like he just would show up every day to get his ass beat by Conor. Okay. Thank you for indulging all that stuff. And you know what? It made me realize, think of this little quote. I remember somebody telling me, we're like an Indian and a cowboy are friends, or they'd see each other in this, North American fake story that's being told to me. And the cowboy or the Indian, whatever it is, like, would share his tobacco with the other. And the guy giving it didn't even use tobacco, but he would take it out and split it in half and keep it. And it, like, obviously he had no use for it, but he wanted to demonstrate like, I'm seeing you as an equal, right? And I feel like it's a great default to be like, the moment you're accepting help or collaboration from somebody in creativity, like unless there's a really good precedent or reason to like split it in a specific way, it's really hard to do that after the fact. You know what I mean? Either 50-50 or 0-100 and it's a favor, or we're talking about it right now, but afterwards like, oh, actually I deserve 50. Where are you getting that 15% or 5% or like based on what? Yeah.
What if the company failed and he took a $20 million loss on the whole thing? Would Artem be like, oh, let me give you 20% of the loss that you just
That's a good way to look at it too. Yeah. You know, because ultimately, yes, he spent time on it, but there was no financial risk whatsoever. So, you know, hey, I'd take the $1 million. All right. Let's click on this right here, the seed oils thing.
Let's click
Seed oils have become like this meme in the fitness industry recently where I follow this great page, Carnivore Aurelius, and it's kind of in this like vein of like, be more masculine, eat meat, like have, you know, one girl, have kids. Like it's like this like Western civilization thing, which like I'm always like, I'm hesitant to reference them or get into it, but like it's basically like simple shit, right? It's like conservative values in some ways, but it's like that is maybe more important, or I feel like I'm being drawn to it because there's so much more in the world that says the opposite, right? With vegan diets, and people who are vegan obviously love to tell you about it. I'm hearing more and more about seed oils and stuff like that. And it started out as a meme, but then as I look into it, it's like, oh, this actually, like, there's legitimacy to what they're saying. And I just didn't even, soybean, corn, canola, cottonseed, grapeseed, it actually says rapeseed, sunflower, safflower, and rice bran. Did you know that industrial seed oils play a significant role in a slew of chronic diseases, and unfortunately, they're hard to avoid. You'll find them in mainstream packaged foods, baked goods, protein bars, salad dressings, and more, and they're inflammatory to the body. They're hard to digest and assimilate. Essentially, we started using them at the turn of the century, but like they use them for, you know, industrial machinery and shit like that. In contrast to that, olive oil, coconut oil, butter, lard, these are things that, while villainized in mainstream culture, actually turn out are much better for you. So it's something that I'm going to look into. They're in packaged foods, baked goods, protein bars, salad dressings. I'm going to start looking at the ingredients and seeing about this stuff and trying to avoid it, because again, the root of so many diseases is inflammation. And if you can avoid that, and also there's, we can get into it more in future episodes, but like, it apparently lowers your testosterone and sperm count. There's all these like tangible things that, you know, in addition to the inflammation, it's just not good for you. Look.
They also, from what I've read, contain a tremendous amount of whale vomit.
Fucking hilarious. Yeah, grapeseed, whale vomit. What? Check your protein bar for whale vomit. Let's just do these. This is why we can't have nice gyms.
Let's do, yeah. Here we go.
And so this is a great exercise by Mike O'Hearn. This is not for why we can't have nice gyms. I'm going to get to this one later. But God, like, one of the things I love about Mike is he is endlessly open-minded and creative. Now, he'll reject stuff that doesn't work, obviously, but like he's doing a lunging behind the neck, wide grip, shoulder press in a Smith machine. So the bar is centered over, you know, the middle of his lunge, down the center of his body, and you can't do a standing press in most Smith machines because it's not tall enough, you know. Certainly for me, maybe if you're like 5 feet tall, you can do it, but this solves that problem, but also creates this like functional thing where you're actually getting a leg workout, and it's a really solid base from which to press. So I really like it, and I feel like that's a really great athletic movement. And again, he's got that from Mike Platts. He's always showing me stuff that's like, oh, you know, Lou Ferrigno showed me this or whatever. Arnold showed me this, and it's like, it's stuff you've never seen before. And so it's like, I feel like it's this bodybuilding kind of like inside info. But, you know, again, follow like training stuff, He's a master. He's got a million tricks up his sleeve, and I think that one's good. Let's go down to the first one.
I have a question on this before we go to the next thing. Do you think this would have any benefit in training like your split jerk?
I would assume so, just because, like, although you're not balancing per se in that position, I do think the basics of, because otherwise, like, how are you going to overload that without doing it explosively?
Yeah.
That's my question. And most people just don't even know how to set it up to do it safely. I think just starting to be conscious of, like, how to generate power into your extremities in this position could be tremendously beneficial. Because, like, most people, you can, like, picture what it feels like to hold the heaviest weight you can in a split jerk position over your head. Most people don't know, like, where the weak point is, or like where, like, if I know that I split too far because it feels like this, or I'm not wide enough because it feels like this. So as far as introducing, like, a kinetic chain to somebody's brain, which is very important just for understanding, like, how to go from relaxed or stretched into optimal force production in a millisecond, you first have to learn it in a slower way or experiment with that in a safer way. And this provides that. So it's honestly something I want to try out. Hell yeah. Okay, let's go down to this. You see the first one there?
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Goodwill racking. Me showing the high schoolers how to re-rack their weights. And it's Goodwill.
And I'm sorry you can't do this. I really am, because I wouldn't have to fucking sit here and watch you fumble.
I wouldn't have to
around
fucking
and
sit here.
Do you know how easy this is for me?
Do you know how easy this is?
Have an idea how easy
It's
this
a
is?
fucking joke.
And I'm sorry you can't do
Sorry.
this. I really am, because I wouldn't have to fucking sit here and watch you fumble around and fuck it up.
Oh, and it's true. Every time I go, like, when I go into the 24 Fitness, I'll look around and be like, this bench, this bench, this bench, this machine. Like, it's like every machine that has weights you can put on it within my eyesight has unracked weights on it, like, or that need to be re-racked. It's like, it's incredible. Versus something like Zoo, you don't see a single piece of machinery because everybody gets the etiquette. All right, what's the next one? Front squat fail. I gave it away. 385-pound squat PR fail. Nothing like a sweet 185-pound, a 385-pound uppercut. God damn, man. Be careful racking these weights. So he comes out. He can't get it. It starts to, oh, God. Yeah, and it's like he's doing the smart thing. But, if I was doing a front squat, I would put the clips on there because there's no bet. Like, you can dump it to the front, You're not going to get trapped in it unless you're a fucking idiot.
He has a clip on this. I think the
Oh,
clip.
Oh, interesting.
Fell.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Let's see if we see a clip fall here on that first fall. Yeah, the clip.
Oh, there we
off.
go. There we go. Casey caught it. All right. Then get better clips, huh? Deep dumbbell press. This is another one where I'm like, oh, I got it. It's so cringy, the build-up. This guy. Now, I don't think the dumbbells are that big. It's like 90 pounds, but he's asking somebody to spot him who looks like he's not his workout partner. And again, this is like, you could be using partial range of motion to achieve something and break through plateaus or whatever in an organized system, but this is not it. This is just a guy going, I need to lift a certain amount of weight. I'm going to do half reps, and it's additionally dangerous because when you're not doing it with a barbell, you're adding this super heavy thing you can't even do one rep with, and now you also have to balance it. That, to me, is a recipe for disaster. When you can't handle a dumbbell and it's this close to your face, like I've knocked dumbbells out of people's hands, like when they're failing on flat bench, for example, that would have gone into their face because if you're not strong enough to manage it completely, you're a split second away from disaster at all times near your face. So never forget that. Like, that guy needs to be using half as much weight. Do a stretch. It's always going to be better. And you look like even if that was beneficial, since you're not that muscular, everybody in the gym assumes you don't know what the fuck you're doing, right? A personal trainer is smaller than me. That exercise isn't optimal for muscle growth. And I chose this one because this is like a buzzword in the fitness community now. Optimal. Everything's like, oh, it's not optimal. Like, it's overused. Michael Hearns actually ripped on that concept a number of times, like behind the neck press, like not optimal. But it is, though, right? If you do it right, and it's this versus nothing, right? Or this versus your, Bosu ball balancing bullshit. That's a triple B right there. It's going to be optimal because you're building muscle with something you enjoy that's as heavy as you can handle. That's always optimal. Short kings, rise up. When you drink your protein, work out 8 hours a day. That's a lot, and have the physique of a Greek god. But the first thing she asks is, how tall are you? Hurtful.
You hate to see it.
Hurtful. Have you ever seen the movie Small Shots? It's so good. I'll send it to you later. But like, the opening scene is this hilarious exchange where it's like, the concept is these like Guido guys come to LA to make it in acting. It's honestly hilarious. Like they wrote and directed it themselves and like based on a true story kind of thing, but like really good. The opening scene is him having that exchange with a girl, you know, and like lying about it, like joking to try to get around the topic and then lying about, you know, and you know, it just reminded me of that. And life is unfair.
I saw this.
Oh, all the lifts. Name this lift. He goes,
Clean,
yes.
clean,
You get clean into a zombie squat, into a behind the neck press, into a fucking the rotation around was the smoothest thing. Okay, let me watch it one more time. Clean, zombie squat, into a snatch catch, behind the neck, squat all the way down, 360 around the neck, one arm snatch catch. That's fucking impressive, man. However you want to look at it. And somebody messages me like, oh, it's a great way to get injured. I'm like, if you're a beginner, you know, but like, no, there's actually zero risk of injury to this guy.
Yeah, and it's light. It's
so
like
shut up.
65 pounds or
Exactly,
something. He knows what he's doing.
Bro, not fighting demons. He fighting gravity, somebody said. This guy, this is another one of these things. Ego lifting at its finest. The guy's got 4 plates at a squat, comes there slapping him. He comes under here, takes 2 steps back, and just immediately collapses. And it's like, there's no way you got to 3 plates and it was so easy. You're like, we got to add another plate on there. Do these guys like just not warm up and go to the, you know, like the one last week with the leg press? Like he's shaking under 4 plates. There's just zero chance of him doing that lift. And of course, these are high school kids, you know, encouraging each other to just do stupid shit. Thinking if I slap you on the back hard enough and you scream loud enough before the lift, you're suddenly going to get 50% stronger. Here's an interesting one. This guy, we don't see the attempt. We just see him passing out and hitting the power cage behind him after deadlift. But then he, 3 seconds later, gets up. And somebody said, this is why we do not need deadlift spotters in competition. He gets up right afterwards and fine. It's like getting choked out in BJJ, I assume. Like you create, you know, blood constriction to your head. You don't have enough blood flow. You pass out. But as soon as that tension goes away, you wake up. And it's fine. No permanent damage. Unless you suffer a concussion from the power rack.
I like how he looks in the mirror, like the first thing when he regains consciousness. He's like, oh, I'm alive, but am I cute?
Yeah, am I jacked? Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, the thing you always have to ask yourself with regards to deadlifting is, did I die? And if you're still alive, then you got to keep lifting. Till next time, guys. And, boy, I'm going to have a banger for you next week. I have some exciting stuff planned with a big guest that you will see next week, hopefully, or 2 weeks from now, maybe 2 weeks from now. But I'm really excited to have him on. And dare I say biggest guest so far? Haters might say no, but I'm going to say, oh, yeah.